What is up, everybody? This is Franco reporting to you for Frank Analysis and Hear Me Out podcast. I just got off a stream with Israel S. Daily of Big Talk Little Talk. We had on Charles of the Independent Report. We also had Dennis Potvin. And something that got brought up was about how progressive media, and I'm guilty of this as well, is sometimes we tend to focus too much on criticizing the Dem establishment people, the Joe Bidens, the Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, and that sometimes we get too focused on that we forget about criticizing the Republican Party, who are filled with people who are also corporate hacks and who are also part of the problem, the systemic problem of money in politics and oppressing working class people. So I was already planning on talking about this article, but I wanted to get this out sooner rather than later. This is an article that was reported on Consortium News, and it was written by none other than Lee Camp of Redacted Tonight and RT. This is a very entertaining article, and what it's about is it's about how Trump is going to win re-election, and how he's going to win re-election unless we do one thing. So let's dive into this article. It was a really good, well-written article, very entertaining, very Lee Campy. So he starts by saying, "We, the American people, have a right to participate in the last vestiges of this tattered democracy. Donald Trump will win re-election. I take no pride in saying that. Me either. I will feel no thrill or joy to witness the Oval Office occupied for another 4 years by the most grotesque, venal, incompetent, amateur, megalomaniacal man-child this country has ever seen. He's Bush League, and he's not even in Bush's league of idiots." Now, there's no way we can say that for sure about Trump, to be fair, since we have to look back in history and see if any of these presidents were actually a man-child. But considering that the etiquette back then was different from how it is now, I guess you can also say it's fair that Trump is a big man-child and he's an idiot. But let's continue with this article. And no, the reason Trump will triumph is not just because Joe Biden happens to be the most pathetic, contaminated, befouled, out-of-touch, hapless candidate the Democratic Party has ever put up since Hillary Clinton way back in. Was that just 4 years ago? Seems like 900. Oh God. Is life slowing down, speeding up? Are we in purgatory? Perhaps a collective, hideously gruesome dreamscape that's supposed to teach us some kind of lesson? Well, that's all a part of life, where this is a temporary realm that we're in, where we're learning from our experiences, right? And our society has been evolving. We can go way back to before humans. Consciousness is evolving, and we evolve from learning from our past mistakes. So I don't think I see a good path going forward in terms of consciousness. People are going to get smarter by learning from mistakes from our history. Just seeing the progress we've made already, having people like Bernie and Tulsi trying to represent the working class people and bringing to light the systemic issues, the real systemic problems that are affecting our country. And we see the rise of more independent media pundits on YouTube and on other platforms who are spreading awareness to people. So that's a good sign of us moving forward to higher levels of consciousness. No, Donald Trump will likely prove victorious because nearly 17 million Americans have been purged from the voter rolls, over the past 4 years, and your corporate media doesn't have the genitalia to effectively report on it. Investigative reporter Greg Palast has uncovered yet another way our sham democracy has been rigged. If you don't know him, he's a tenacious fellow who discovered how George W. Bush stole the presidency in 2000. The guy who uncovered how the Deepwater Horizon oil spill actually happened. The guy who revealed how California was stolen from Bernie Sanders by forcing provisional ballots on every carbon-based life form that entered a polling place, and the guy who discovered where I left my underwear that crazy night in Vegas. In his new book, How Trump Stole 2020, Palast writes, between 2014 and 2016, the number of voters purged for moving their residence had soared to 16,696,470, 1 in 12 registered Americans. So this is a huge voter purge. So why didn't the Democrats speak out about this? It might be because they participate in this as well. As what we saw with the DNC leaks, the Democratic Party tried their hardest to rig the election against Bernie Sanders, the DNC fraud lawsuit. And it's also important to keep in mind that the Republicans and the Democrats are owned by the same people. So as long as one of them who represents the corporations are there in office, it doesn't really matter to them as a group, because I know that there are some Democrats and some Republicans that are selfish and they're interested in getting themselves up there, but in the end, it's a group thing. They're all in it as a group to keep the system working in their favor, because they profit off of it. Some of these politicians have dreams of becoming lobbyists themselves. That's why they cozy up to these higher ups. And most of them didn't actually move. And almost all of them didn't actually move out of their city, meaning almost all of those 16.7 million should be able to vote, but won't when they show up to their polling place in November. To give you an idea of just how much 16.7 million scrub voters could matter in this year's election, Trump won the state of Michigan against Hillary Clinton in 2016 by 10,704 votes. That's 0.065% of the number of people purged across the nation for supposedly moving residences. And please keep in mind, I am not saying anything complimentary of Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. That always has to be disclosed, right, before they call you like a Trump hack or anything. So here I go, YouTube. I'm letting you guys know I do not support Joe Biden, even though I made it obvious in my previous videos where I criticized him and the Dem establishment. I also criticized Bernie Sanders for cozying up to the establishment. That doesn't mean that I support Trump. And if I criticize Trump, it doesn't mean that I support the Democrats. Lee goes on to say that that's not the point. I just want a legit election. I will call out all election meddling, fraud, and suppression, whether it comes from the GOP, the DNC, the CIA, Run DMC, or Blink 182. I don't care. I just want an actual legitimate adult big boy election. Yeah, we need to put our principles ahead of groups and ahead of personalities, right? So for me, my principles are democracy. I got to put democracy ahead of the progressive movement. I consider myself a progressive. It's democracy first, progressive second, and then you put your candidate. That's something I learned from Nico House of MCSC Network. Shout out to him. Ballot robbing. And in reality, it's even more than 16.7 million robbed of their ballot. That's only the people who were scrapped for supposedly changing residences, when most didn't. That's not even counting the people purged by way of interstate cross-check, or due to closed polling places, or due to thrown out mail-in ballots, etc. Yes, even though some people are now pushing for a complete mail-in election this coming November due to the pandemic, Palast reports, mail-in ballots are a nightmare. 22% are thrown out. Move to 80% mail-in voting, and 25 million would lose their votes. The powers that be can throw out mail-in ballots for just about anything. Maybe the signature doesn't quite match. Maybe the would-be voters had a stray mark or rogue booger on the page. Maybe despite being an American citizen, they signed their name in their native language, such as Korean. Maybe the voter just barely, hardly at all, ever so slightly wiped their ass with the ballot. But can you blame them when it's Donald Trump versus Joe Biden? Why would you not? So knowing that so many Americans, mostly minorities and young people, will be disenfranchised in November, we have to ask, where the hell is the Democratic Party? And I'm sure he's going to allude to what I mentioned earlier, that they're all owned by the same people. It doesn't matter whether it's Amy Klobuchar or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio. In the end, they're all bought out by the same people. That's who runs the country. As with everything involving the Democrats, the answer is a beautiful recipe, a creme brulee of incompetence and corruption. It's a crime brulee. I saw what he did there. Some of the voter suppression they might not know of, for example, it seems to have taken them an impressive amount of time to learn about interstate crosscheck, which eliminated millions of the rolls in 2016. It is one of the many reasons Hillary Clinton lost. Then, when they do find out about this dastardly election shenanigans, they seem to think, let's not make it a big issue out of it, because if we do, people will start asking about the election fraud in the primary elections too. And we totally rigged those against Bernie Sanders. We, the American people, have a right to participate in the last vestiges of this tattered, cadaverous democracy. We have a right to a ballot. Be it dirty and bloodied, we have a right to a voice, even exhausted and hoarse. Everyone should agree with that, no matter your political beliefs. That's so true. Whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, we all agree that we want a democracy. We want our voices truly represented. We don't want our votes being thrown out. And that's what the elites are doing, and these politicians are doing. They're not truly representing you. And they don't care if the other side cheats, because it's going to make their corporate owners mad if they speak out about it. So that's all I have for you folks. Let me know what you think. What can we do to make this to combat voter fraud coming from the Republicans, coming from the Democrats? I think that we need to organize and push for making a third-party option bigger, make the focus of it getting money out of politics, bringing to light how there's so much voter fraud going on from Republicans and Democrats, and let everybody know, because this is a principle that should be universal for everybody. Do you want a party that truly represents you? Because the Republicans and the Democrats don't do that. They don't represent you. Here in our party, we don't take corporate money. We challenge voter fraud. We challenge voter suppression so that your voice can be heard. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you can tune into more videos where I discuss solutions that we can have for this country with other YouTubers, journalists, activists. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for watching that segment of Hear Me Out. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below so you can get the latest on sports, pop culture, and progressive politics. Stay informed.